Okay, let's get right into it. If you're using Postman, you already know how to send an API request. That's the easy part. But the real magic, the real power, comes from making those requests smart and dynamic. Today, we're going to break down the two absolute core building blocks of API automation in Postman: scripts and variables.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll talk about scripts, what happens before and after your request. Then we'll figure out the order they run in, which is super important. After that, we'll dive into variables and how they save you from repeating yourself. We'll look at the 5 different levels of variables. And finally, we'll bring it all together by managing those variables with our scripts.
All right, first up, scripts. Here's a simple but powerful idea. Every single API request you send has a moment before it goes out and a moment after the response comes back. And the best part is, you have total control over both of those moments. I want you to think about it like a rocket launch. Before you can hit that big red button, you have to do your pre-flight check, right? Making sure all the systems are go. And after the mission, you do your post-flight analysis to see if everything went according to plan. It's the exact same idea here. So in Postman terms, that pre-flight check is your pre-request script. It's the code that runs before anything is sent. It gets everything ready. Then your post-flight analysis is the test script. This runs after you get a response, and it's your chance to check the results and maybe clean up a little. Okay, that's simple enough when you've just got one request. But what happens when you start building out a whole collection? You might have scripts at the top collection level, inside a folder, and on the individual request. It suddenly gets a lot more complicated. And that brings us to the big question. If you've got setup instructions everywhere, who gets to go first? Understanding this order of execution is absolutely essential. If you don't, you'll end up with automation that's totally unpredictable. And here's the answer. It's actually very logical. Postman works its way down. It runs the pre-request script from the biggest container, the collection, then the folder, then the specific request. Then, bam, the API request is sent. After the response comes back, it does the exact opposite for the test scripts. It starts at the most specific level, the request, and works its way back up through the folder and finally the collection. It's like a waterfall flowing in and then flowing back out. All right, on to our second building block, variables. Look, if you find yourself copying and pasting the same thing over and over again, like a base URL or an API key, you are setting yourself up for a massive headache. Variables are the answer to this. Just look at this comparison. On the left, with hard coding, if that server address changes, you have to go find every single request and change it by hand. It's a nightmare. But on the right, using a variable, you just changed base URL in one place, and boom, every single request is updated instantly. This is the don't repeat yourself principle, and trust me, it will save you so much time and frustration. So now we know why we should use variables. But it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Postman gives us different scopes or levels of variables. This means you can pick the perfect tool for whatever job you're trying to do. And there are 5 of them in total: global, collection, environment, local, and data. Each one has a very specific job and a specific area where it can be seen and used. Think of this table as your guide. The key idea here is scope. A collection variable, like that base URL we talked about, only lives inside that one project. But an environment variable is a game changer. It lets you switch that same base URL between, say, your QA server and your live production server with a single click. Each scope has its place, from temporary local variables that exist for just one run to powerful data variables that let you run a test with hundreds of different inputs from a file. Okay, this is where the magic really happens. This is where we bring everything together. We've talked about scripts and we've talked about variables. Now, let's use our scripts to dynamically create, read, and even delete our variables. This is the heart of real automation. So instead of you manually clicking around in the interface to create a variable, you can just do it on the fly, right inside a script. The command is super simple: pm.globals.set. This is perfect for when one API call gives you back a token and the next call needs to use it. You just grab it and set it. Of course, setting a variable isn't much good if you can't read its value later. And that's exactly what pm.global.get is for. You just give it the name of the variable you want, and it hands you back the value. This lets you build some really complex logic right inside your scripts. And just as important as creating variables is cleaning them up when you're done. In your test script, after everything is run, you can use pm.globals.unset to remove any temporary variables you created. This keeps your workspace tidy and prevents old, stale data from causing weird problems later on. You've got the whole cycle: create, read, and delete. So let's just zoom out for a second. What we've done is taken two simple ideas, scripts and variables, and combined them into something incredibly powerful. A basic static API call is one thing, but when you mix in these building blocks, it transforms into a dynamic, reusable, and truly intelligent automated test. So, we've laid out the tools for you. You have the building blocks. Now I want you to think about your own workflow. What's that one manual, repetitive thing you have to do every day? That copy and paste job, that manual check that drives you crazy. With scripts and variables, you now have what you need to automate it away for good. So, what are you going to build first?